Lanes of traffic going in opposite directions are divided by A. Yellow lines, B. White lines, C. Red lines, D. Blue lines. Lanes of traffic going in opposite directions are divided by A. Yellow lines. On undivided roadways, lanes of traffic that move in the opposite direction are always divided by a yellow-colored line. Lanes of traffic that move in the same direction are divided by white lines. At a four-way stop, if two cars arrive at the intersection at the same time, A. The vehicle on the left should yield to the vehicle on the right. B. The vehicle on the right should yield to the vehicle on the left. C. The vehicle with more passengers should go first. D. The heaviest vehicle should go first. At a four-way stop, if two cars arrive at the intersection at the same time, A. The vehicle on the left should yield to the vehicle on the right. Under normal circumstances, the vehicle to arrive at an intersection first should be the vehicle to go first. But, what happens when two vehicles arrive at the stop sign at the same time? When two vehicles arrive at the same time, the right-of-way guidelines dictate that the vehicle on the right should go first. Where should you stop your vehicle when there is no limit line? A. At the corner before entering the intersection. B. Just ahead of the corner. C. 10 feet from the intersection. D. If there is no limit line, you don't need to stop. Where should you stop your vehicle when there is no limit line? A. At the corner before entering the intersection. At many intersections, there will be a thick white line painted on the ground to indicate where vehicles approaching the intersection should stop. However, some intersections may not have a limit line. If the intersection has a painted crosswalk, but no limit line, stop before you enter the crosswalk. If the intersection has neither a limit line nor a crosswalk, stop at the corner before entering the intersection. A curb painted red means A. No stopping, parking, or standing at any time. B. You can only stop to load or unload passengers. C. You can only park there for a maximum of 10 minutes. D. Stopping, parking, or standing is allowed if there are no fire hydrants nearby. A curb painted red means A. No stopping, parking, or standing at any time. The color painted on the side of the curb indicates what kind of stopping, waiting, loading, or parking is allowed. A curb painted red means no parking, no standing, no stopping. In other words, you cannot stop at a red painted curb for any reason. As your vehicle speed increases, your field of vision A. Increases. B. Decreases. C. Always remains the same. D. None of these. As your vehicle speed increases, your field of vision, B. Decreases. Your field of vision describes what you can see in front and to the sides of with your direct line of sight and your peripheral vision. As you drive faster, you will be covering a greater distance in a shorter amount of time. When this happens, the sides of your field of vision are more difficult to perceive. Your overall field of vision becomes more narrow. This is one of the reasons that constantly scanning the road ahead and around you is so important. The extra space in front of a large truck is needed for A. Passing. B. Motorcycles to ride in between trucks and cars. C. The truck to speed up. D. The truck driver to have enough room to stop. The extra space in front of a large truck is needed for D. The truck driver to have enough room to stop. Trucks and other large vehicles take a longer distance to come to a complete stop than smaller vehicles. For this reason, it is important that you give trucks enough space in front of their vehicles. If the truck doesn't have enough room to stop and you are driving too closely in front of it, you run the risk of being hit from behind. Additionally, the front of large trucks is one of the blind spots around it. When entering a street from a private alley or driveway, you must A. Pull up to the edge of the curb immediately. B. Stop, look, and yield to pedestrians before crossing over the sidewalk. C. Only make a right turn. D. Wait until oncoming traffic has a red light before you go. When entering a street from a private alley or driveway, you must B. Stop, look, and yield to pedestrians before crossing over the sidewalk. Vehicles entering the roadway from parking lots, alleys, and driveways have to cross over the sidewalk before they get to the street. This situation can make things especially dangerous for pedestrians. It becomes even more dangerous around driveways and alleys with blind corners due to buildings, plants, or other obstructions. A traffic signal with a flashing yellow arrow means that you should A. Slow down and proceed through the intersection. B. Come to a complete stop because the light will change to a red arrow. C. Make a protected left turn. D. Yield to oncoming traffic and pedestrians before making a left turn. A traffic signal with a flashing yellow arrow means that you should D. Yield to oncoming traffic and pedestrians before making a left turn. A flashing yellow arrow is another way that some traffic lights indicate that unprotected left turns can be completed. When you approach an intersection with a flashing yellow arrow and wish to make a left turn, you'll need to slow down and be prepared to stop and yield to oncoming traffic and pedestrians crossing the street. If another car is in danger of hitting you, you should A. Speed up. B. Swerve. C. Slow down or stop. D. All of these are potential options. If another car is in danger of hitting you, you should D. All of these are potential options. Unfortunately, there is no one-size-fits-all solution to accident avoidance. In order to avoid a collision, drivers need to evaluate all of their options and choose the one that will give them either the best chance of avoiding the crash altogether or taking a choice that will lead to the safest outcome. When is it legal to cross a double solid yellow line? A. When traffic is backed up. B. When you want to pass another vehicle. C. Under no circumstances. D. When you are turning left to exit the roadway. When is it legal to cross a double solid yellow line? D. When you are turning left to exit the roadway. Unless otherwise prohibited by a sign, drivers are permitted to cross over double solid yellow lines to turn left and exit the road. If there are designated turn lanes or shared center turn lanes, use those. Whenever you need to make a left turn against oncoming traffic, be sure to do so safely. If you are thrown from your vehicle during a collision, you are how many times more likely to die? A. 5. B. 10. C. 15. D. 25. If you are thrown from your vehicle during a collision, you are D. 25 times more likely to die. The fact is simple, a seatbelt can save your life in the event of a car accident. When worn properly, a seatbelt will help prevent you from being thrown or ejected from your vehicle during a collision. Drivers and passengers who are thrown from a vehicle during a crash are up to 25 times more likely to die than those who were wearing seatbelts and remained with the car. Anytime you change lanes, enter a highway, or merge with traffic, you need a gap of at least A. 2 seconds. B. 3 seconds. C. 4 seconds. D. 5 seconds. Anytime you change lanes, enter a highway, or merge with traffic, you need a gap of at least C. 4 seconds. A 4-second gap allows enough distance between your car and the car in front of you and your car and the car behind you. When you merge into the middle of a 4-second gap between two vehicles, both you and the car behind you will have a 2-second following distance. Under normal driving conditions, this is an adequate space for merging. What vehicles must stop at all railroad crossings? A. Passenger buses. B. School buses. C. Trucks transporting hazardous materials. D. All of these. What vehicles must stop at all railroad crossings? D. All of these. There are certain vehicles that are required to stop at all railroad crossings before crossing the tracks, regardless of whether or not the gate is down or lights are flashing. If you are driving behind one of these vehicles as you approach the railroad crossing, you should be prepared to stop. Do not attempt to pass them to get around the tracks more quickly. A. What is the connection of a freeway to a road or another freeway by a series of ramps? A. Intersection. B. Exit ramp. C. Exchange. D. Interchange. A. D. Interchange is the connection of a freeway to a road or another freeway by a series of ramps. An interchange describes the series of ramps used to connect drivers to freeways moving in different directions or to divert high-speed traffic back to the surface streets. Interchanges come in a variety of shapes and orientations. What is a pedestrian safety zone? A. A crosswalk. B. Areas on and near the roadway with additional accommodations and regulations to help protect pedestrians. C. An area where vehicles are never allowed. D. An area with overhead bridges and underground tunnels for pedestrians to cross the street. What is a pedestrian safety zone? B. Areas on and near the roadway with additional accommodations and regulations to help protect pedestrians. Pedestrian safety zones are created in areas with higher volumes of foot traffic or places where collisions with vehicles and pedestrians are a greater risk. A safety zone will typically be indicated by road signs and lane markings. Whenever you are driving near a pedestrian safety zone, exercise caution and give the pedestrians plenty of space. Avoiding stopping too close to the crosswalk or blocking the crosswalk. To avoid a collision, you should A. Stop, slow down, speed up, or turn. B. Stop. C. Slow down. D. Speed up. To avoid a collision, you should A. Stop, slow down, speed up, or turn. In order to avoid a collision, you must take whatever actions are necessary depending on the circumstances of the hazard. Your main options for avoiding a collision include stopping, slowing down, speeding up, turning or maneuvering. The best course of action will be whatever puts you in the safest position. When you are driving at 55 miles per hour, you will need a stopping distance of about A. 50 to 200 feet. B. 150 to 250 feet. C. 250 to 300 feet. D. 500 to 750 feet. When you are driving at 55 miles per hour, you will need a stopping distance of about C. 250 to 300 feet. A vehicle's stopping distance relies on a few factors, including how long it takes the driver to perceive the need to stop, how long it takes the driver to react and apply the brakes, the physical distance to stop the vehicle. At 55 miles per hour, the total distance it takes for a passenger vehicle to come to a complete stop is about 250 to 300 feet, depending on the condition of the road's surface. A red and white triangular sign at an intersection means A. Stop at the limit line. B. Continue driving. C. Slow down and be prepared to stop and yield to other traffic, bicycles, and pedestrians if necessary. D. Slow down, but do not stop under any circumstances. A red and white triangular sign at an intersection means C. Slow down and be prepared to stop and yield to other traffic, bicycles, and pedestrians if necessary. A red and white triangular sign is a yield sign. This sign means that you should slow down as you approach the intersection and be prepared to stop and yield the right-of-way to other traffic in the intersection, bicycles, and pedestrians crossing the street. If the intersection is clear, you do not need to come to a complete stop. To prevent hydroplaning. A. Reduce your speed. B. Ensure your tires are in good condition and properly inflated. C. Avoid rapid acceleration. D. All of these. To prevent hydroplaning. D. All of these. Hydroplaning describes a phenomenon in which your tires lift up off of the surface of the road and ride atop a thin film of water. This can happen when it is raining or when roads are wet and water has collected. When your vehicle starts to hydroplane, you will not be able to control it and can quickly go into a skid or crash. Hydroplaning can occur at speeds as low as 35 miles per hour, and the likelihood of hydroplaning increases at higher speeds. The best way to deal with a tailgater is to A. Speed up. B. Slow down and allow them to pass. C. Slam on your brakes. D. Honk your horn. The best way to deal with a tailgater is to B. Slow down and allow them to pass. Most rear-end collisions are the result of a vehicle following too closely. If you have a tailgater behind you, you should not speed up. This will only cause you to have a vehicle following you too closely at a higher speed, which can make the situation more dangerous. The best thing to do is to slow down and allow them to pass. Drivers turning left must yield to A. Oncoming traffic. B. Traffic behind them. C. Traffic on their right. D. Nobody. Drivers turning left must yield to A. Oncoming traffic. Whenever a driver wants to make an unprotected left turn, a left turn without a green arrow or without the right-of-way at an intersection, they must first yield to oncoming traffic, bicycles, and pedestrians. When backing out of an angled parking space, you should always move slowly and A. Use your mirrors to see as you back up. B. Look over your shoulder as you back up. C. Honk your horn to warn other drivers. D. Apply the accelerator. When backing out of an angled parking space, you should always move slowly and B. Look over your shoulder as you back up. Angled parking spaces along the side of the road have the benefit of being easy to pull into, but can be challenging to back out of, especially if traffic is busy. The reason why it is difficult to pull out of an angled space is because cars parked next to you and other obstructions can make it difficult to see oncoming traffic in the street as you back out of the space. Construction zone signs. A. Are always white and black. B. Are always orange and black. C. Are always yellow and black. D. Do not need to be obeyed. Construction zone signs, B. Are always orange and black. Construction signs are always orange and black and warn drivers of temporary changes and hazards in the road due to construction and maintenance projects. Failing to obey work zone signs can result in increased fines and traffic tickets. Which of the following will not help you avoid skidding on slippery surfaces? A. Reducing your speed. B. Making sure your tires are properly inflated and in good condition. C. Braking in turns or curves. D. Slowing down before you enter turns or curves. Which of the following will not help you avoid skidding on slippery surfaces? C. Braking in turns or curves. On slippery roads, your tires will have less traction. This means there are some steps you should take to prevent a skid. First, it's important to know some things about using your brakes on slippery roads. Coming to a stop will take longer on a slippery surface than a dry surface. If you apply the brakes too hard, you can go into a skid much more easily on a slippery road. Applying the brakes while in a curve or turn can also cause your vehicle to skid. When the roads are slippery, it is best to do any braking and slowing down when your vehicle is going straight as opposed to turning. If you are involved in an accident, one of the immediate requirements is to A. Take pictures of the accident scene. B. Call a tow truck. C. Call the DMV. D. Help anyone who is injured. If you are involved in an accident, one of the immediate requirements is to D. Help anyone who is injured. Immediately following an accident, it is everyone's responsibility to make sure all persons involved are all right. If there are any injuries, however minor, you should render aid and call for emergency assistance, if necessary. Great job! Here are some of your next steps to getting your learner's permit or driver's license. Read and study the official driver handbook from your state DMV. Take more free practice tests at puedomanejar.com. Gather all your necessary forms and documents before you visit the DMV office. Before you know it, you'll be driving in your very own car all by yourself. PuedoManejar.com. Free DMV practice tests and much more to help you pass your real exams. Visit us today.